Ah, there you are. The crack in their confidence, the disruption in their hierarchy, the presence they thought they understood, right up until you made one move that rewired the entire chain of command. It's almost poetic watching how fast their certainty collapsed. The same people who used to analyze you like a predictable equation now stand there recalculating everything because whatever you just did exposed a truth they weren't ready to face. They never had you figured out, not even slightly. You know what's fascinating? They've been profiling you for years, quietly comparing notes, observing patterns, thinking they could decode the way you operate. They had a version of you in their minds, filed, categorized, predictable, manageable. And then you did something that shattered every assumption they built. One decisive action, one shift in posture, one unpredictable recalibration, and suddenly the most hardened individuals in the room felt something unfamiliar creeping up their spine. They don't have a word for it, but their bodies do. It's the involuntary response reserved only for the presence of a superior force. What kills them is how confusing you are to their internal frameworks. One moment, you're calm, controlled, almost gentle. The next, you're surgical, ruthless, and devoid of hesitation. They can't process it. Their minds were built to function in binaries. You're either harmless or dangerous, friend or enemy, soft or severe. But you move through the world like both at once, and the contradiction fractures their mental wiring. They don't know whether to approach you, avoid you, appease you, or run from you. And the worst part? They can't even tell if you notice the confusion you cause, or if you're deliberately letting them drown in it. Let me break it down bluntly. The move you made didn't elevate you. It revealed you. What they witnessed wasn't transformation, it was exposure. They saw the real hierarchy for the first time. They saw who they'd been standing beside while assuming they were standing above. And that realization hits harder than any confrontation. It forces people to reevaluate everything about themselves, their confidence, their role, their leverage. It forces them to confront the possibility that they were performing strength in front of someone who actually has it. And that's where the panic begins. Not the dramatic kind. No shouting, no arguing, no visible breakdown. The kind of panic that shows up in micro-reactions, the stiff jaw, the forced grin, the sudden fascination with their phone, the unnecessary adjustment of their jacket. These are the behavioral signatures of someone who just recognized they miscalculated a player in the room. When the toughest ones start doing this, you know the shift wasn't mild, it was seismic. But here's the part that really stings them. Your move didn't come with theatrics. You didn't create a scene. You didn't raise your voice. You didn't posture. You acted with that terrifying calm only people who are certain of themselves possess. And as much as these individuals love pretending they respect strength, they don't. They respect control. They respect unpredictability wrapped in precision. They respect the person who doesn't need validation to execute. And in that moment, they realized that was you, not them. The toughest ones folded first. That's how it always goes. Not because they're weak, but because they understand hierarchy instinctually. They know when they've been outclassed. They know when someone has stepped into a level they can't mimic. They know when authority is authentic. And no matter how loud, aggressive, or battle-tested they act, their instincts never lie. Their instincts told them exactly where you stand now, above them, ahead of them, beyond them. People like them rely on predictability to maintain dominance. They need to understand someone to manage them. But your last move broke their sense of measurement. They don't know what you'll do next, how far you'll go, or what lines you see as irrelevant. They don't know if you're the type to respond, escalate, ignore, or dismantle. And unpredictability is the greatest fear of anyone who depends on control. There's an almost comedic element to watching them adjust. The same individuals who walked with inflated confidence now walk like their shoes might explode. They speak with measured tones, slow caution, and suspiciously polite phrasing. They suddenly care about your input. They suddenly over-explain their decisions. They suddenly want to make sure you understand the context. You don't need the context. They do. They're terrified of misstepping around someone whose boundaries they can't map. Your last move didn't put you at the top of the food chain. It exposed the fact that you were already there, quietly observing everyone who mistook your restraint for limitation. They confused your patience with uncertainty. They thought your quiet was voluntary compliance. They never considered that you were collecting data while they performed strength. They never realized that you were operating at a depth they couldn't perceive. And once someone sees that the person they dismissed is the person they now have to respect, their entire psychological balance shatters. You know why this hit them so hard? Because they had an internal script about you. They thought you would always be approachable, always composed, always diplomatic, always rational. They believed that you would never disrupt the familiar roles. They assumed you would stay in the version of yourself they built in their minds. But you didn't. You rewrote the entire narrative with one action, and their internal world couldn't keep up. You violated the boundaries of their expectation, not with aggression, but with precision. And that precision is what scares them. People can fight loudness. They can resist dramatics. They can defend against emotional outbursts. But they can't predict someone who moves with purpose, someone who acts only when it matters, someone who doesn't broadcast intention. That's the one enemy every self-proclaimed tough individual fears, the quiet threat that becomes real without warning. There's something magnetic about someone who acts with that level of certainty. It forces alignment. Even the rebellious ones fall in line, because rebellion requires confidence. And confidence can't survive when the environment is controlled by someone who sees the entire board. They know better than to test someone who plays the game from a higher vantage point. They know better than to misinterpret calm for softness ever again. Your last move didn't intimidate them, it educated them. They learned, quickly and involuntarily, that you aren't operating on their timeline, their logic, or their emotional triggers. You're operating from an internal source, something that isn't influenced by approval, pressure, or expectations. And nothing terrifies tough individuals more than someone who isn't motivated by the same things they are. Because if they can't predict what drives you, they can't predict what stops you. They're still replaying it in their heads, trying to break it down like surveillance footage. They're trying to figure out where they miscalculated, what signs they missed, what clues they overlooked. But they can't find any because there weren't any. You acted when it was necessary, not when it was convenient. That alone separates you from them. Their decisions are reactions. Yours are conclusions. Now they're moving around you differently, whether they admit it or not. Their tone is more cautious. Their words are more selective. Their gestures are more calculated. This isn't respect. This is recognition. Recognition of someone who can reorder a room with a single action. Recognition of someone who doesn't need validation to enforce reality. Recognition of someone who can dismantle hierarchy and rebuild it around themselves without saying a word. They don't fear you. They fear misreading you ever again. And that's exactly where the power lies. In the understanding that no one wants to test someone who doesn't need to prove anything. in the realization that the toughest individuals in the room instinctively stepped back and reassessed their standing, in the quiet recalibration of every person who used to speak with entitlement around you. You didn't ask for a new position. You acted in a way that made it undeniable. You didn't declare yourself leader. Their reactions declared it for you. And the funniest part is, they're scrambling to pretend nothing changed, when every detail of their behavior proves everything has. What's happening now is something deeper, something primal. You triggered an instinct older than language, older than social rules, older than every fake expression of dominance humans use to mask their insecurity. You triggered the instinct of hierarchy recognition, the moment when every organism, not just humans, stops, observes, recalculates, and shifts its entire behavioral pattern in response to a force it cannot measure or challenge. That's what your last move did. It wasn't just strategy. It wasn't just timing. It wasn't even just precision. It was a biological reset of the environment. Now look around. The same people who once pushed the edges of your patience suddenly act like those edges don't exist. The same ones who used to test you aren't even willing to test the space around you. The same ones who once walked with an inflated presence now walk like their weight changed. You didn't call them out. You didn't correct them. You didn't demand anything. They adjusted themselves because instinct told them to. That is the mark of someone who has stepped above the chain instead of competing inside it. You know how you can tell the shift was real? It's in the way they speak now. Not what they say, but what they avoid saying. Every sentence is carefully measured. Every word is selected like a soldier, choosing steps in a minefield. Every tone is lowered, softened, controlled, not out of respect, but out of recognition. Recognition of someone who can alter the landscape without raising a hand. Recognition of someone whose decision can change the direction of every conversation. Recognition of someone who doesn't have to fight for the top because they already operate from it. People don't fear a punch. They fear unpredictability wrapped in clarity. They fear someone who doesn't react, doesn't explain, doesn't justify. They fear someone who moves when the moment calls, not when emotions demand. That's what you demonstrated. You didn't need to argue. You didn't need to assert. You didn't need to posture. You simply acted with a level of certainty these individuals spend their whole lives trying to imitate. And nothing exposes imitation like the presence of authenticity. But here's the unsettling truth for them. They never saw the full spectrum of your capacity until now. They got glimpses, flashes, hints. But this was the moment when the curtain dropped, and the reveal was too sharp to ignore. The room suddenly understood that your restraint wasn't a lack of ability. It was control. Control they misread as softness. Control they misinterpreted as compromise. Control they took advantage of because they believed you were operating on their level of thinking. You weren't. You were operating from a vantage point above their emotional reactions, above their ego-driven assumptions, above their need for validation. You were observing their patterns while they were busy performing strength. You were memorizing their motives while they were busy trying to analyze yours. You were understanding them while they were making the mistake of thinking they understood you. And when you made that move, whatever it was, it exposed the entire difference between your depth and their performance. This is the part no one likes to acknowledge. The toughest individuals in any room are often the most fragile. They build their identity on image, on presence, on intimidation, on assumptions that no one will ever challenge them. The moment someone does, someone who isn't performing, someone who doesn't need applause, someone who doesn't play into their theatrics. Their whole psychological framework collapses. Toughness without depth is brittle. Toughness without discipline crumbles under precision. And you brought precision. Notice what they did next. None of them confronted you. None of them questioned your action. None of them tried to reclaim the position they thought they owned. Instead, they went quiet on the inside, while pretending composure on the outside. They folded inward, recalibrated their posture, and redirected their energy. They started nodding at things they would have challenged before. They became agreeable in places they used to be stubborn. They became cautious in spaces where they used to be reckless. That shift wasn't submission. That shift was survival instinct. It's fascinating watching them process it. One part of them wants to maintain the image of being unshakable. Another part knows the truth. You shook them without even trying to. They can't admit it publicly because it wounds their identity. They can't admit it privately because it wounds their self-image. So they do what all ego-driven individuals do when they encounter a superior force. They pretend nothing happened while behaving like everything happened. Your move didn't just change the room. It changed the way they see themselves in relation to you. That's the real recalibration. Tough individuals lose their power the moment they recognize someone who doesn't need to match their aggression, their volume, their energy. Someone who operates above the entire arena they fight inside. And once they recognize that person is you, they shift their entire behavioral alignment. This is why the room feels different around you. It's not tension, it's awareness. Awareness of hierarchy, awareness of authority, awareness of the difference between someone who plays for dominance and someone who simply is dominant. And here's the twist they're struggling to face. Dominance isn't something you claimed. It's something they projected onto you the moment they recognized it. They know you can move again. They know you can shift the environment again. They know you can alter the dynamic with as little effort as the last time. And that knowledge alone changes the weight of every interaction. People who used to challenge you now check the temperature before speaking. People who used to interrupt you now wait. People who used to assume you'd bend now assume you won't. Every one of them is adjusting to a version of you they never prepared for. And the craziest part? They still don't understand how you did it. They still can't explain it. They still can't define it. All they know is that something about you moved, and everything about them followed. They can't articulate why. They can't break down the mechanics. They can't create a psychological framework to make sense of it. All they know is the toughest individuals in the room, the ones who once acted invincible, fell in line. Not because they were threatened, but because instinct told them they were no longer the apex presence. And that's where their real discomfort begins. Because once the toughest ones fall in line physically, their minds follow. And once their minds follow, they begin studying you with a different intention. Before, they were observing you to categorize you. Now they observe you to anticipate you. They watch you the way someone watches an incoming weather shift. Not with bravado, but with awareness that whatever happens next depends entirely on you, not them. Every glance they steal, every subtle hesitation, every overly careful phrase is a sign that they're trying to understand how someone they underestimated just repositioned the entire social ecosystem with one action. That's the stage where confusion turns into fixation, where caution turns into recalibration, where dominance stops being external and becomes internalized by them. They start reading deeper into your tone, your posture, your timing, your stillness. They replay the moment in their heads, trying to pinpoint when exactly the power flipped. They search for clues in your expression, in the way you walked, in the way you delivered your decision. But the more they search, the more they realize how little they understood in the first place. Your move didn't just shift the hierarchy. It exposed the blindness in theirs. They lived under the illusion that toughness equals leadership, volume equals influence, and consistency equals control. But what you did proved otherwise. You demonstrated that power isn't the loudest force. Power is the force that doesn't require validation from the ones reacting to it. Power is self-perpetuating. It doesn't chase acknowledgement. Acknowledgement follows it. And now that they've seen what that looks like up close, none of them can unsee it. Watch how they position themselves around you now. No one stands too close. No one stands too far. They orbit you, subconsciously maintaining a respectful distance, not out of fear, but out of recognition that your energy is no longer something they can casually approach. You didn't ask for that space. They created it on their own, because instinct told them you're operating on a higher frequency than their usual confrontational bravado. It's amusing, in a darkly poetic way. Watching the ones who once acted unshakable shift their entire internal code because of a single move they couldn't predict. They keep pretending they're unaffected, but their behavior betrays them. They now assess themselves before they assess you. They second-guess their words before they speak them. They run imaginary simulations in their heads, trying to predict how you might respond, not because they want to provoke you, but because they don't want to step into territory they can't handle. That's what true hierarchy feels like. It's not about intimidation or threat. It's about becoming the reference point, the presence others adjust themselves to, the center of gravity in a room full of people who used to believe they were the gravity. You shattered that delusion without confrontation, without conflict, without theatrics. And because you didn't force them into submission, their submission holds more weight. Forced compliance is temporary. Instinctive compliance becomes permanence. What they don't realize is that this shift didn't come from ego. It came from precision. You acted not out of emotion, but out of necessity. The kind of necessity that rewrites an entire environment in one motion. That's why it hit them so hard. Most people's decisions are driven by insecurity or impulse. Yours wasn't. Yours carried inevitability without being emotional. It carried truth without needing volume. It carried consequence without requiring threat. This is the difference between someone trying to climb the food chain and someone who already sits at the top without having to claw their way through. You didn't challenge their dominance. You revealed that their dominance was never legitimate to begin with. That's why they're quiet now. Because the recognition of that truth is too heavy to verbalize. They'd rather swallow it and pretend the shift was mutual, even though they know the real shift was internal, happening inside them, not inside you. And now they face the second phase of adaptation, acceptance. Once the toughest ones fall in line, the rest follow. The middle-tier personalities, the ones who pride themselves on being sharp, observant, analytical, begin copying their behavior without realizing it. They take cues from the alphas of the group, and when they see those alphas adjusting to you, they adjust faster. They're not loyal to strength. They're loyal to whatever strength acknowledges. And since strength now acknowledges you, they become silent disciples of the new hierarchy without needing instruction. Notice how they treat your actions now. Even your smallest decisions get amplified. Your simplest gestures get interpreted. Your briefest words carry weight they didn't carry a week ago. Not because you changed your communication, but because the context surrounding your communication changed. Your presence now has narrative gravity. People attach meaning to things you didn't even intend to signal. They're reading you like scripture, afraid to misunderstand the text. And this is where your dominance becomes irreversible. Because the moment people start interpreting your behavior instead of questioning it, hierarchy becomes real, not symbolic. You're at the top of the chain, and they know it. Not because you said it, but because their reactions declared it long before they consciously admitted it. The toughest ones are the most interesting to watch. They oscillate between forced neutrality and subtle admiration. Their egos won't let them verbally acknowledge what happened, but their instincts betray them every time. They might try to stand tall, but their body language curves around your gravity. They might try to maintain authority, but their eyes move to you before they speak. They might try to hide it, but their entire behavioral rhythm aligns with yours the way predators align themselves under a superior predator. They're not scared of you. They're scared of how naturally they fell into formation. The shift was effortless for you, painful for them, and permanent for everyone. This is the part where people start inventing theories, because if they can't explain your move, they need a narrative to protect their pride. They might tell themselves you got lucky. They might convince themselves you planned this for months. They might frame it as a coincidence. They might claim they saw it coming. But deep down, they know the truth. They didn't see anything coming. You weren't on their radar as a threat because you didn't behave like one. You didn't posture. You didn't compete. You didn't fight for dominance. You operated from clarity, not hunger. And that's what terrifies them most. The idea that someone who wasn't even trying just rose above them effortlessly. That level of presence shouldn't be possible in their minds. So they rewrite the story to protect themselves. But instinct doesn't lie. And their instinct knows exactly what you are, the force they didn't account for. Your rise wasn't loud, it wasn't explosive, it wasn't messy, it was clean. Clean enough to expose how chaotic their version of power always was. Clean enough to highlight how much noise they used to hide their weakness. Clean enough to reveal that they relied on intimidation because they never had certainty. Clean enough to demonstrate that their confidence was decorative, while yours was structural. Now they stand in a room, reordered by a person they underestimated, trying to function the way they used to, but failing at every attempt. You made every one of them feel their own fragility in a way they can't outrun. Their identities were built on the belief that they were immovable. Your move made them realize they were only immovable to those beneath them, not to someone above. Now the air around you carries a different weight, a weight they respond to instinctively. They watch, they adjust, they follow. Not because they want to, but because every cell in their bodies tells them it's the correct response to someone who operates with a level of clarity they can't match. And the funniest part, they still can't pinpoint what exactly you did. They know it wasn't luck. They know it wasn't coincidence. They know it wasn't emotional. But without being able to decode the mechanics, they're forced to interpret the result instead. And the result is simple. The toughest motherfuckers in the room bent their posture when you moved. Not because you demanded it, not because you threatened it, but because hierarchy recognizes hierarchy. And you're operating at the top of the chain now, whether they admit it or not. And now that the shockwave has settled, now that their instinctive compliance has become their new behavioral default, something deeper begins to unfold. Something they didn't expect, something they hoped wouldn't happen after that moment, but something they can't stop. Admiration, not the soft kind, not the emotional kind, the kind that comes from reluctantly acknowledging a force they're unable to match. It's the type of recognition predators give to apex predators, quiet, involuntary, born from survival instinct. They don't bow, but they shift. They don't confess respect, but they behave like it. Their bodies answer to a law they haven't spoken aloud. You see it in the way their eyes track you, not out of challenge, out of calculation. They study you like someone studying a terrain they must now navigate instead of dominate. They've realized you're not another competitor. You're not another loud presence pretending to be dangerous. You're the one who moves without noise and alters the entire structure of the environment. They've realized you're not one of them. You're something above them. And once someone sees that, everything changes. The toughest ones begin reorganizing themselves around you, whether consciously or not. Their priorities shift. Their tone shifts. Their decision-making shifts. They no longer move according to their old internal compass. They move according to your gravitational pull. When you enter a conversation, they pause. When you speak, they listen. When you remain still, their chaos dissolves. Your presence doesn't demand order. It creates order without request. The most fascinating part is what happens internally for them. They're asking themselves questions they've never asked before. What did I miss? How long has this been there? Why couldn't I see it earlier? They're wrestling with the idea that someone they underestimated just became the person they unconsciously aligned themselves with. It's not humiliation, it's revelation. And revelation alters behavior permanently. Your last move didn't just put you at the top of the food chain. It exposed how artificial their version of strength was. Strength built on posture collapses under clarity. Strength built on ego collapses under certainty. Strength built on external validation collapses under internal conviction. You demonstrated the kind of dominance that doesn't hit the chest. It hits the subconscious. And once someone feels that, in their subconscious, the mind has no choice but to fall in line. That's why they're quieter now. That's why their bravado evaporated. That's why their presence has shrunk without you ever shrinking them. They've recognized you're not driven by the same forces they are. They're powered by pride, by insecurity, by audience, but you're powered by something far more dangerous. Authenticity sourced from within. And nothing crushes ego like someone who doesn't need ego to move. This is where the long-term shift begins. When dominance becomes stable. When respect turns into expectation. When the ones who fell in line instinctively now start falling in line consciously. They begin deferring to you without even noticing they're doing it. They ask for your input indirectly. They watch your reactions before reacting. They time their decisions around your presence. They imitate elements of your demeanor, hoping it might grant them even a fraction of the authority you carry effortlessly. You've become the blueprint, the unspoken reference, the gravitational center around which the old hierarchy has reorganized itself. And that comes with a new kind of pressure for them. The pressure of accountability. Because now that they've placed you at the top, now that their instincts have submitted, they must confront a truth they dread. If you can ascend without trying, you can dismantle without warning. They don't fear your capacity to rise. They fear your capacity to remove. They fear your ability to assess them with a level of precision that leaves no room for pretense. They fear becoming irrelevant, under someone who doesn't need theatrics to command. This is why they're careful now, not fearful, careful. They walk differently around you. They measure the distance, they adjust their tone, they pick their timing. It's not compliance. It's survival instinct, camouflaged as politeness. They're not trying to impress you. They're trying not to disappoint you. And what comes next is the most beautiful psychological contradiction. They begin seeking validation from someone who doesn't seek validation from them. The ones who once demanded attention now want your approval. The ones who once performed dominance now hope you see worth in them. The ones who once believed you were beneath them now hope you don't see them as disposable. But you don't operate on those metrics. You don't reward performance. You don't respond to flattery. You don't feed egos. Your recognition, when given, is earned through alignment, not effort. This is where the strongest transformation takes place. Not in them, but in you. You realize those tough individuals were never the standard. They were distractions pretending to be anchors. They were noise pretending to be authority. They were turbulence pretending to be leadership. And your last move was the silent revelation that removed their costume. Now the room sees you clearly, but more importantly, you see them clearly. And once you see the difference between true dominance and counterfeit dominance, the entire landscape becomes easier to navigate. Because now, you know who's real. Now you know who folds under pressure. Now you know who adapts to truth and who hides behind performance. Now you know who's worth engaging and who's worth bypassing. Your rise didn't just expose the hierarchy. It exposed the fragile scaffolding their identities were built on. Some of them are fighting this new reality internally. They're trying to convince themselves nothing changed. They're telling themselves they're still the tough one, still the authority, still the force others answer to. But their behavior betrays them. Their hesitation betrays them. Their new caution betrays them. They're not the apex anymore. They know it. You know it. The entire environment knows it. And this is the moment where real power reveals its second layer: permanence. Temporary fear is easy to create. Temporary influence is easy to fake. But what you created wasn't temporary. It wasn't a reaction. It wasn't a fluke. It was a structural shift that now lives in their instincts. Once someone's nervous system updates its understanding of where the real authority resides, there is no resetting it. They can pretend, they can posture, they can rehearse old patterns, but their bodies will never forget who reorganized the room with a single move. And here's the part they didn't expect. Now that the hierarchy has shifted, they're trapped in a psychological loop they can't escape. They're watching you constantly, not because they fear what you'll do, but because they fear what they won't see coming. Tough individuals can handle conflict. They can handle loud threats, loud enemies, loud challenges. They know how to respond to those. But you don't broadcast, you don't warn, you don't telegraph your next move. And that terrifies them in a way they'll never admit. Because someone who doesn't seek permission can't be predicted. Someone who doesn't perform strength can't be measured. Someone who doesn't crave dominance can't be manipulated. They're realizing they made one of the biggest mistakes a self-proclaimed alpha can make. They mistook calm for softness. They mistook silence for compliance. They mistook your observational nature as a lack of power. And now, they're paying the price. Because they watched your patience evolve into precision. They watched your restraint evolve into direction. They watched your neutrality transform into authority. What they dismissed is what crowned you. Watch them now. The ones who once acted like they could challenge anyone are now doing emotional gymnastics trying to figure out how to stay aligned with you. They don't want to piss you off. They don't want to misunderstand you. They don't want to fall on the opposite side of someone who has already proven they don't need to raise their voice to rearrange the entire hierarchy. Their bravado only worked when they believed they held the psychological advantage. Now that they know they don't, their entire identity begins to destabilize, and that's what they're trying to hide. Not fear, displacement, the loss of the position they built their image around. Without being the apex, who are they? Without being the toughest one, what value do they hold? Without being the center of attention, what meaning does their presence carry? You didn't just rise. You removed the foundation their pride stood on. Their entire persona relied on others believing in their dominance. But once the environment recalibrates, dominance shifts from performance to truth. Your truth. Their performance. That's the difference, and now that they see it, the room feels different to them. The same environment that once responded to their presence now responds to yours. Conversation subtly turns toward you. Eyes shift in your direction when decisions need to be made. Even silence bends around you. Not as absence, but as awareness. They used to think they were the ones carrying gravity. Now they feel themselves being pulled into yours. And here's where the psychological spiral deepens. They don't know how to rebuild themselves under a superior force. They've never been second. They've never been overshadowed. They've never had to adapt to someone stronger in a silent, undeniable way. They've only dealt with challenges that could be met with aggression. But you don't give them anything to push against. You don't fight for the top. That's what makes you untouchable. You're not fueled by dominance. You're fueled by clarity. You don't need their position. You never wanted their position. You simply moved because the moment required it. And the moment recognized you. Now they're caught between two identities. The one they used to believe in, and the one reality forced on them. And the gap between those identities is where their discomfort grows. They find themselves double-checking their opinions before speaking. They hesitate before disagreeing. They adjust their tone when you enter a space. These aren't choices. These are involuntary recalibrations born from subconscious acknowledgement. And that acknowledgement leads to something even heavier: accountability. Because once someone recognizes who the real apex is, their excuses fall apart. They can't behave recklessly anymore. They can't hide behind intimidation. They can't blame others for their shortcomings. They start holding themselves to a higher standard, not because you demanded it, but because your presence exposes every part of them that lacks discipline. You don't judge them. You don't correct them. But standing near you forces them to confront who they really are. Some will grow from this. Most won't. The ones who grow will quietly align with you, adjusting their behavior with humility instead of fear. They'll recognize your rise as something earned, not imposed. They'll understand that real leadership isn't about dominance. It's about clarity, precision, and grounded presence. Those ones will thrive around you because your movement activates something deeper in them. But the ones who won't grow, they'll fracture. They'll begin overcompensating, trying too hard to look unbothered, trying too hard to reclaim an identity that no longer fits. They'll make subtle attempts to challenge you, not because they believe they can win, but because they're desperate to resurrect the version of themselves they lost the moment you moved. These are the ones who will collapse under their own insecurity. You won't have to do anything. Their ego will do the job for you. And this is the real beauty of the shift you created. You didn't just climb the food chain. You exposed who never belonged near the top in the first place. You revealed who had real strength and who had borrowed strength. Who had real confidence and who had inflated confidence. Who had real awareness and who had blind arrogance. These revelations didn't come from confrontation. They came from observation. They came from consequence. They came from your ability to act without needing the performance that others rely on. Your move wasn't just decisive. It was diagnostic. It showed you the truthful nature of every person in the room. And that truth becomes your new compass. You know who respects you genuinely. You know who fears you quietly. You know who envies you silently. You know who will align with you willingly. You know who will pretend to align while plotting their image. You know who will crumble under pressure. You know who will rise because of your presence. That's why you're at the top now. Not because you wanted the position, but because you're the only one mentally equipped to handle it. And deep down, they all know it. Even the ones who resist. Even the ones who pretend they're unfazed. Even the ones who still cling to their old identity like it's armor. Their instincts don't lie. Your last move revealed who the real apex is. Not by force, not by threat, but by unveiling the distance between who they thought they were and who you actually are. The toughest motherfuckers in the room didn't fall in line because they submitted. They fell in line because they recognized. Recognition is stronger than fear. Recognition is deeper than intimidation. Recognition is permanent. And now, whether they like it or not, whether they admit it or not, whether they try to hide it or not, they move around you the way every ecosystem moves around its apex. Not because they're weak, but because you're operating on a level they can't touch, can't decode, and can't compete with. And once someone sees that truth, there is no going back. This is your hierarchy now. This is your territory now. This is your chain now. And everyone, even the toughest motherfuckers, knows exactly where you stand on it.